Evening all, welcome back to Factorio. So today it's everything oil. We're going to do oil production and we're going to do this across 2 cells. That's right, 2. The thought process. I did ask the audience, you, what your opinion of oil production was. Simple versus, is it advanced? No, just the coal liquefaction, you know, the normal one you do. And I think overwhelmingly, at least 3 people, so that's overwhelmingly, said probably stick to simple, which is what you see here. This is simple production, oil production, or coal liquefaction using calcite. And I think I'm glad I did this, because what you'll see at the end, and if you want the too long didn't read, just scroll to the end and you'll see what we produce, because I'm rather proud of this. This could even be my new oil setup, because usually with oil I've done it within the city block. Here I think we've been a much more economical, and I think it actually works quite well. We're using basically calcite and coal to produce oil into heavy oil, and then we're cracking the heavy oil into light and then petrol. And that kind of seems to work. So you'll see what we produce here. Now, I have always enjoyed, when it comes to oil and the liquid production in this game, of making long pipelines that look really nice. Like there's something quite satisfying about having a long pipeline of oil or heavy oil or whatever it may be. So we're actually going to bridge these 2 cells by having effectively at the bottom there the channels, effectively just pipes of oil of all the different things: water, light oil, heavy oil, petrol, and so on. So this is something quite simple, but it actually is. I think it's quite a nice design, actually. I quite like the sort of oil field here as well. So you've got many silos. I never used to do this because it hurt your UPS. I'm told this isn't a problem anymore. Please post in the comments if this is a massive problem, because so far UPS has not been an issue. I don't want to produce like 3 million units of liquid and have it a problem. The reason I say this is because we have currently the same sort of quantity for liquid metal and liquid copper. So yeah, tell me if this is a problem in your mind. I don't think it is, because I think with the new fluid mechanics, it's not taking many calculations to work out anymore. I think the way, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but liquid I think now works across whatever pipe network you have is balanced. So immediately everywhere on that pipe is the same quantity, hence why it's, I think, a bit more efficient. Issues with this design: number 1, coal. Coal is a bit of a challenge. So you'll see what we do. We have to double the train throughput here, so 2 trains. This is one of the limitations of the cell network, is it is limited to 2 trains per station. You can't do 3. Well, you maybe could, but it's best not to do 3. So as you can see here, I've done a bit of editing here. You can see we're struggling a bit to keep the coal production up. And it wasn't actually at this side of the base that's the problem. It's actually at the source. So eventually you'll see me work it out in just a moment. Basically, it's where you're loading the trains. I wasn't using, well, there we go. So prime example, this is what we had to do to make this work. And look how quickly that fills. I mean, my goodness. So this solves that problem. But isn't it interesting? Like, that is the sort of problems that we're going to have, I think, with this kind of base. So, stack inserters are brilliant because, my goodness, they fill up things quickly. Obviously, they also stack out to the thing as well. So whatever they stack out to the base is obviously really good as well. But yeah, to me, that kind of solved that problem. And we're on to next thing. So the next thing was really to look at how we would then crack to light oil. And as you can see, light oil here is... It's a bit of an old design, and I'm not entirely, so you see me sort of moving it around and looking at it. This is very typical of my process. So we just bung it sort of near, because at the moment I think the first thing we had to do was to figure out how to put water. So for any oil cracking to happen, you have to have lots of water. Now I was going to do quite a big water build here. I actually have in the old base like 8, 10 of these cryogenic chamber things producing water, and I didn't quite appreciate how really good they are, because you probably only need 1 or 2. So currently we're doing 1-to-1, which is steam production through calcite cracking, I guess you'd call it, and then steam reduction to water. So that's the process for water here, and a lot of this is trying to work out, is 1 enough? The quick answer is yeah, it turns out 1 is more than enough, but it does need a bit of beaconing. And in the end, I think I added more anyway. But for now, we've stuck with 1. Because in terms of water production as well, this can be excessively quick. So these things work with a 50% productivity bonus already. And then if you bung speed modules like I've done there, as long as you have the things being delivered like acid and calcite, it's pretty good. I think a lot of this base is really testing to figure out, can I get away with certain things? And I think this is one of the best things about Factorio is firstly get it working, so you could just build. It's like anything. In fact, funny story, I'm fitting a dash cam to my car at the moment. Completely random story. And again, if you look at the instructions, I know a man reading the instructions of a device, what the heck. It does say plug it all in first before you install it. And I've always been a firm believer of that when it comes to anything, just check it works, because the amount of times I've gone and bought something, like I bought a telly once, right, a TV. I went to a place in UK we call Curry's. The only reason Curry still exists is because they sell TVs to idiots like me. And I went and bought a TV from them. And I spent ages mounting it to the wall, digging all the channels, making sure it's all ready to go. Plug it in, didn't work. And I was like, oh man, I've broken it. I then had to take it back, which is no easy feat for a pretty big telly. And this is big back in the day, like 40 inch, that's not big now. That's like a monitor size now. And I was like just pleading with the manager, who was half my age, basically, who thought I'd smashed the TV myself. And I hadn't. It literally just didn't work. Eventually, they gave me another TV, took that home, and it went straight on the wall. But again, wonderful example of measure twice, cut once. But there we go. So what we see here is the bit that I've really been looking forward to. I love these kind of swishing pipes. I love them. Because to me, that on the map, it just looks great. The oil field, little kind of nice centric little boxes. And then basically you see the pipe work feeding from one stage to the next. It's just immensely satisfying. And again, this is the beauty of bots. You can sort of measure and make sure things fit. For me, this is an absolute... this is fun. Like, I genuinely love doing oil fields. I think they've always been really fun part of the game for me. I remember when I first played Factorio and I first came across liquids. I was like, oh, there's liquids. Oh, right, okay. And it was an entirely different way of playing. And it really did sort of stretch your imagination to try and think about, efficiency and so on. So this design here, where you've got effectively the two pipes in columns and they're sort of digging and, ducking under each other, it's beautiful. Like, that's just beauty to me, that is. I love the way this looks, and I get very excited, which is maybe an example of me not particularly being very interesting as a human being, but I do really enjoy Factorio and the way things look. There's a satisfaction. Do you do that? Do you just sit and look at your base and go, God, this is beautiful? Like when I got the first few cells up and running, I genuinely just sat on a train just riding back and forward, because there's something so wonderful about the speed and efficiency of the train. It just zooms and whips in every time. No, just me? Okay, just me. I do get some real satisfaction out of this. I played Satisfactory as well, but I did not get satisfaction from it in the way that Factorio gives me satisfaction. There we go. Little play on words. So in terms of production, we're moving now from heavy oil to light oil. Nice and simple. Nothing particularly extraneous here. We don't need to go too hard on this one because the process of heavy to light is actually quite efficient. It's quite quick. One thing you'll be sort of screaming at the screen right now is there's no lube, which is something I get yelled at me quite often, which is annoying. But you are right, there is no lube. Everything's better with lube. I will continue this poor joke until I am satisfied. And that's because, again, it's going to be done at point. So where we need lube, stop making myself laugh. Where you need lube, and let me tell you, boys, where you need lube, as you get older, it becomes a thing. I'm not going to take it down that avenue. You might as well just do that at point. So if you're needing it for things like belts and things like that, might as well just actually ship in heavy oil and turn it into lube there. I don't know, maybe not, we'll see. I think that's probably how we'll do it. You don't need lube a lot of places. Again, excusing the obvious joke here. But again, cracking then to light oil. I think light oil you do need quite a bit of, so I've gone with a relatively healthy silo field there. I don't know if we actually need it in massive quantities of Vulcanus, but I think you do need it for things like fuel blocks and things like that. And we'll come to that. So actually fuel production is going to be something we'll do at the very end of this process. So not in this video, the next video you'll see how we've done that. Because again, we make fuel blocks from light oil because it's the most efficient way to do it. And then you turn those into fuel cells, fuel things, whatever they're called. So this is kind of working quite nicely. I think this then starts to look at petrol or petroleum. So how do we then create that? So again, it's a kind of left to right process. So we start basically pushing heavy oil down to light oil. Light oil then gets cracked into petroleum. And again, the water, that's lovely. I love the fact that you've got this supply of a single pipe, and that works really well. We do need light oil as well for fuel block production, so we will use that here as well. So we'll need to create another line effectively for that. So I think there's 4 lines. Yeah, there's heavy, light, and petrol, and then water. And I think as long as you keep them separate, it kind of works. I would love it if you could just lay them side by side, but I think they look pretty good like this anyway. So there we go. So pretty much almost complete. So we're getting to the point where effectively everything is being produced. One of the only things left to do is to think about how we then ship those around. Currently we have this in the main base, but we're going to decommission that. So we need a train stop here to pick up light oil, but that's less important because petrol is important for plastic production. So to be honest, plastic production takes priority, so that'll be the first thing that we create here. But yeah, so there we go. So this has worked out quite nicely. I think some old designs, not particularly interesting designs, but I would say it's a pretty good tactic to go above and beyond. So when you're producing things, just make it so that you're mass producing, always overproduce. That's always been my mantra, because you could balance it, but it's better just to have lots of it. And then it produces and then stops. And then it will only really reproduce when you need more of it. So there we go. So I think that takes us to what is effectively the end of the oil build, part 1. We'll look next time at some of the other things we're doing with it, but hopefully you kind of see what we've done. We've taken 2 cells, we've turned them into effectively, autonomous, no bots, nothing to do with bots, and they're kind of driving a pretty high production of oil. I think the challenge with it is, yes, we are burning a lot of calcite and coal, but they seem pretty abundant, so I'm pretty confident that we can continue to use them. We may evolve over time to coal liquefaction, but for now, let's not worry about that. So let's show the whole thing. So again, in our base, you see it's basically here. We have our cell 1, cell 2, and they're basically producing all the bits we need. So there we go. Simple, right? Hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time.